Mr. Gale, can you tell me that, I think if I ask in a Republican primary if people would cut taxes, the answer is largely going to be yes. Please correct the record if it would be yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think I need to ask that. But what I do need to ask is you cannot have a tax cut without also slashing the government. So I want to know specifically, which government bureaucracy would you end when you become governor? Why would you do it, and why do you think that is significant enough to give all the working men and women of the state a tax decrease?
We need to drastically cut funds in the Department of Transportation and also the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, because clearly we don't have a revenue problem in Harrisburg, we have a cost problem. An example of that are our roads. I dodge a lot of potholes on the way to get here today. And we have the worst roads in the country, and we also lead the nation in the highest gas tax, 58 cents per gallon, which was given to us with a former Republican governor, Tom Corbett, along with the Republican majority in the state Senate and the state House. That was literally the legacy of the Corbett administration, and that let down so many conservatives that are fed up with high taxes that led to Governor Tom Wolf today, because typically an incumbent wins re-election. But in fact, Corbett and the governor of Alaska in 2014 were the only incumbent Republican governors not to be reelected because of that infamous Corbett gas tax, Act 89. So clearly we have a cost problem, and something that would help fix the roads and do it at a lower cost and at a faster pace of time is prevailing wage reform, where you open up the bid process to more independent contractors and drive down the cost. It's basic economics. It generates competition. But politicians in Harrisburg wouldn't pave their driveway at home the same way they pave a public road, because they cater to labor and trade unions. Because all you have to do is look at their campaign finance reports, Republicans included, we have a lot of them funded by unions. And they cater to them for political expedience, and they go after money grabs from all of us. Whether it's the vehicle registration fee increase, that increased a provision of Act 89 was giving the 67 counties the ability to increase the vehicle registration fee by $5. That may not seem like a lot, but that revenue is supposed to go to fixing county roads and bridges. Well, it is a lot when you consider our high property taxes, the highest toll road in the world, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, not the country, the world, and the highest gas tax in the nation. It's endless money grabs. And you need a governor with a backbone that will hold accountable Republicans in the legislature that have let us down for decades in this state, and also not be afraid to take on unions, special interest groups, or any other lobbyists that profit from our tax dollars. And I'm a unique candidate because I've never been created by the system, and that's where I separate myself from all the others. To a certain degree, every other single candidate kisses the rings of party bosses, lobbyists, donors, and those special interest groups. From the very beginning, in my initial campaign as Montgomery County Commissioner back in 2015, I took on the Republican Party establishment swamp, and I beat them. And then I was reelected in 2019, and they had all guns out a-blazing trying to stop me, and I was reelected by an even larger margin. I never relied on the Republican Party or any other special interest groups or the establishment class. I've always been blessed to have the backing of the people, and I'll bring that to the governor's seat and actually get results and cut taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Appreciate it.
Mr. Gale, in July 2020, Penn State University's Liberal Arts College posted a tweet that affirmed its commitment to viewpoint diversity, saying that along with welcoming diverse students of all kind, dear conservative students, your viewpoints are important. After an online backlash, the university deleted the tweet. Academic bias, self-censorship, and echo chambers have become endemic, including in Pennsylvania's state-funded universities. As governor, what would you do to promote freedom of thought and ensure that Pennsylvania's tax dollars are being spent to educate children and students rather than indoctrinate them?
If you notice, when we give Democrats a majority in government, they ram down our throats radical liberalism, wokeism, cancel culture, and the pendulum has shifted so far to the left where God and conservative beliefs are considered controversial because we have weak Republicans that are afraid to champion common sense conservatism and conservative values and principles. And what you need is a conservative with a backbone. And particularly when it comes to education and the freedom of thought and speech, school choice is a must. We must have school choice, and in Harrisburg, they've been talking about for decades, and we never see results. And as your next governor, I will get school choice done by holding the Republicans and the legislature accountable to do it. And the reality is, because of gerrymandering, the way the district maps are drawn, the Republicans will maintain control of the state Senate and the state House. So we need a Republican governor at that bully pulpit holding them accountable to pass things such as school choice. We need voucher systems where the dollars follow the child to a school of their choice, whether it's private, parochial, homeschool, cyber school, charter schools. We need to generate that competition. It will improve the quality of education. But instead, we have spineless, Republicans included, in Harrisburg, that cater to the PSEA, the teachers union. And again, look at the campaign finance reports, you'll see all the donations. And as governor, that's something I can directly change. And I would use that bully pulpit as my governorship to hold the Republicans accountable. And when I push for things like school choice, I know going into that scenario, all the Democrats are going to be against me. I already know that. And I also know that a significant amount of weak Republicans will also drag their feet and resist it because they're worried about missing out on that donation from the teachers union. And when they drag their feet, I'm going to call them out by name publicly and also support primary challenges against them. And I have the ability to do that because, once again, I was never created by the establishment system. And I can do what's best for the taxpayers and families of Pennsylvania. And I would use that bully pulpit, for example, to have a press conference and say, I want school choice done now. I don't want to wait till the end of my term. We need it now. And when they drag their feet, I'll have two poster boards, a list of all the legislators that are resisting it, and then another board with all the donations from the teachers union. And I'm going to say every single one of these individuals needs to be primaried. We need them out of office. We need to shape up or get it right. I have the ability to do that to my own party. The other candidates don't. And again, that's the difference between me and all the others. We know liberals resist the conservative agenda. We need Republicans with a backbone that actually deliver us results. And whether it's Pat Toomey on the federal level, the former Governor Tom Corbett on the state level, or the despicable state legislature we've had for decades in Harrisburg, they let us down. I will not let you down as the next governor.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Our next question is from Jennifer for Mr. Joe Gale. Jennifer?
Yes. Joe, tell me, would you support decriminalizing recreational marijuana like many other states are now doing? And if so, or if not, explain why.
I do not believe we should have legal recreational marijuana. Marijuana is a gateway drug to other dangerous drugs. And once you start that ball moving, it's going to lead to legalizing the next drug, following the next drug. We need law and order, and drugs begin at the southern border. That's where it pours across our southern border, and we need to stop it there. That's the #1 root of the drug epidemic that the country is facing, as well as Pennsylvania. It has to stop at the border. And when we elected a pro-border security president with Donald Trump, that was the time to get the border wall done. But he had a Republican Congress and Senate that didn't cooperate with him the way they should have. And one of them was our U.S. Senator, Pat Toomey, who actually voted against funding the border wall. So here in Pennsylvania, we have two U.S. Senators, Bob Casey, a Democrat, and a Republican, in name only, Pat Toomey. And Casey tells us he's for open borders, let drugs pour in, illegals pour in. Pat Toomey, our Republican, should be in favor of border security, but he voted against funding that border wall. So in that scenario, we totally disagree with Bob Casey. But the bigger problem is Pat Toomey. And I'm the only type of candidate, again on this stage, that can hit the sitting U.S. Senator from my state. Because I have no allegiance to the Republican Party establishment swamp. And they let us down. And I contribute the drug problem to weak Republicans. So I will be a conservative, common sense governor that backs law and order and will hold Republicans accountable in state government and federal government as well. Because that's where we need to cooperate. That's how much of a problem the drug epidemic is in Pennsylvania. And I have a record of backing the blue. Back in 2020, Center City, Philadelphia looked like a third world country war zone with all the looting, the arson, torching police cars, and they were getting away with it. No one said anything. And I was the first elected official in the nation to speak the truth about Black Lives Matter. And I took a lot of heat for it. And I called them radical left-wing hate groups that are perpetrators of domestic terror. And that's exactly what they are, and I was not afraid to say it. And I took a lot of heat for it. I had 4 protests in front of my house, over 500 protesters. The police had to barricade the whole perimeter of the property. I had celebrities calling me for me to resign. I faced impeachment charges in the state legislature, and I would not back down. I backed the blue. So that's a very important component to having drugs off our streets. We need to support law enforcement. It begins at the border and also with our state troopers and all the municipality police departments we have across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Albert with a question for Joe Gale. Albert?
Mr. Gale, a few common sense statements that seem to have been forgotten on the left and the right recently. 1, tweeting is not the same as doing something. And 2, politics is additive and not subtractive. What are you going to do to expand beyond your coalition as somebody who often presents as a little bit prickly and easily willing to torch what you call establishment Republicans to start?
Well, amen. I'm going to torch away. And that's why I'm a 2-term Montgomery County Commissioner. And that's why I'm doing very well in this primary race for for governor of Pennsylvania. Because they can exclude me from debate stages, they can exclude me from polling, but I have connected directly with the people, Republican primary voters of this state, at unprecedented levels. I do a series of meet and greets every single day called a Cup of Joe. It's a catchy phrase for a coffee clutch. And I literally go into the homes across Pennsylvania and meet with people one-on-one. And I developed a very loyal following that's second to none. And I educate people on the behind-the-curtain view of all the tactics that take place in Pennsylvania politics, including the corruption and collusion between the Republican establishment and the Democrat establishment. Because there's a lot of it, and I believe Pennsylvania has more of it than any other state in the country. So I am blessed to have the people behind me. I have from day one when I first ran for county commissioner, and I have the people behind me in this campaign for governor. So I have a proven ability of putting people before politics, and that's the only coalition I'm worried about building. Because we know what coalition building means in Harrisburg. It means playing footsies with the lobbyists and the donors and the special interest groups that are looking for kickbacks of our tax dollars. I have no strings attached, and I have the ability to advance a conservative agenda, and I can actually get the liquor stores privatized. The time to do it was when we had Tom Corbett with the Republican legislature. Why was it not done then? Because the state stores have state employees and they have a public sector union. And for political expedience, they cater more to that union instead of getting government out of the liquor business, which it has no business being in. They let us down. I will hold those type of Republicans accountable. And we have plenty of them in Harrisburg. And as long as I have the people behind me, that's all I care about. I don't care about having the Republican Party establishment's endorsement, any other endorsement. I want your endorsement and your family's endorsement on May 17th. Because that's what counts, and that's what gives me the power, the freedom, and the independence to say the things I do on the stage. So if I sound like I'm a flamethrower, that's what I am. I always have been, and we desperately need that in Harrisburg. And I will use the bully pulpit of the governorship to do just that. We need to burn it down and rebuild. It's broken. And I'm the future of conservatism in Pennsylvania. I'm the youngest commissioner in the history of Montgomery County. I believe I'd be the youngest governor of Pennsylvania. We desperately need young blood that's not controlled. And I am totally uncontrollable, and that's what separates me from all the others.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Mr. Joe Gale, final comments.
I can't tell you one single good thing the Republicans have delivered for us in Harrisburg. But they did give us 50 days of no-excuse mail-in voting, the longest vote-by-mail period of time in the entire nation, Act 77. And it was passed unanimously by every single Republican state senator, including Doug Mail-in Mastriano and Jay Corman, who's the president of the state Senate right next to me. They passed it. And in my opinion, anyone that voted for that disastrous legislation should be disqualified from holding any office, let alone being promoted to a higher office. And if it weren't for me exposing the truth about Act 77, election integrity would not be a topic on the stage today. Because Act 77 was a deliberate act of sabotage where the Republicans in the legislature colluded with Democrat Governor Tom Wolf. And the trade-off was 50 days of no-excuse mail-in voting for the removal of straight-ticket voting in the general election. because the Republicans know that removal of straight ticket voting selfishly benefits Republicans down ballot. And all they care about is they're keeping their seats safe seats. And in return, it sabotaged the presidential election. And Act 77 is the reason why Donald Trump is not in office today. And the last thing we need is to nominate someone like Doug Malin Mastriano as a Republican nominee for governor, because the issue of Act 77 goes away. The guy is a total fraud. I expose him relentlessly. He's a master manipulator. And ladies and gentlemen, I hear some cheering and I also hear some booing. That means I'm talking the truth, the uncomfortable truth that they don't want you to know.
Mr. Gale.
Doug Malin Mastriano is part of the problem. I hold him accountable, and I am the candidate to win in November because I can beat Josh Shapiro. I come from his hometown.
Your time is up. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please, please.